Crank up the volume and get ready for real-world bird hunting by listening to the Wingmen Podcast by Eastman's. Now your host, Todd Helms.
Hey gang, this episode is brought to you by... Alright, this past year, actually the past 2 years, we have been working here at Wingmen through Eastman's on a new sage grouse film. And it's not just the sage grouse hunt, guys, it's about sage grouse and being in trouble and the impact that they have economically if their habitat is shut down. And Leupold was awesome enough to come on and sponsor that project. And so we got to use Leupold glass on that project. And by glass, I mean spotting scope in particular. And I got to put a piece of glass that I've always wanted to try, which was the Leupold Gold Ring spotter, through the paces. I used it for glassing sage grouse on lek, for glassing habitat. I even used it last fall when we filmed the hunt portion of that project to look at birds and examine habitat and try to spot birds at a distance. And I was actually able to pick out some birds at a long ways away on a hillside where we were pretty sure there were grouse. And so before we went and walked it, we actually glassed it, and I used that Leupold Gold Ring spotter, and I was actually able to turn up some grouse on a ridgetop. And we knew they were there. We got on the birds. So I guess my point is this. I had some questions about the Leupold Gold Ring spotters, and I got to put them through their paces, not just for the Wingmen Sage Grouse project, but also I got to put them head to head with some of the other top spotting scope brands in the business for a review for Eastman's hunting journals. And this was earlier this summer of 2022, and that spotter was so bright, so crisp, so clear that it blew me away. And so if you're looking for a new set of glass, a new spotting scope, maybe a new pair of binoculars, guys, you need to be checking out Leupold. Obviously, Leupold is known for making top-notch rifle scopes. That doesn't apply so much to us here on the Wingmen side of things. We're not using rifle scopes unless we're hunting big game. We're not talking about that. But for using a spotter and using binoculars, man, Leupold is our go-to here at Wingmen. They're top-notch, and I can't wait. I got a new idea about how to find chuckers in the late season when there's snow on the ground, and it's going to be using that Leupold Gold Ring spotter. I already use the Leupold spotter for glassing up distant waterfowl feeds. Say out here in the west, I can get a high vantage point and I can look over a large expanse of agricultural area, and I can pinpoint without having to burn a lot of gas, which at $4 and plus a gallon these days means a lot. Without burning a ton of gas, I can sit up on a high vantage point and use that Leupold Gold Ring spotter to pick apart countryside and see where the ducks are feeding, where the geese are feeding, and I can scout a lot of area in a very efficient manner. So guys, if you're looking for a new spotter, new set of binos, obviously a new rifle scope, please go to leupold.com and check out their full line of stuff, and then go out to a retailer and get your hands on them. Get them outside, and I think you'll be as impressed as I have been.
Well, Brian, it's really good to talk to you, but fill us in. A lot of our listeners have heard your name, me talk about you, but tell us what you do at Federal.
Sure. So I oversee the media planning and buying for our ammunition brands of Federal, Remington, Spears, CCI, Heavy Shot, and also have PR responsibilities. So I've got a team of really good professionals. John Zinnel, who oversees our conservation and youth programs, and then JJ Reich, who a lot of your editing staff on Eastman's hunting and the magazine's publication side utilize JJ as point of source for information on new products. Underneath all that, we have our external our exterior communications function. So we're out promoting our brand through publishers like you guys, whether it's podcast, television, or magazines.
Oh, that's cool. That sounds like a lot. Sounds like you've got a lot going on at all times.
Yeah, and I've got some crazy dogs in the background too, so I apologize for the interruptions today. They're distracting.
That's okay. That is perfectly okay. It adds a little flavor, a little down-home flavor to the podcast. I love it. So you've got a million things going on, and you said you hit a brand, Heavy Shot, and I don't think that a lot of folks know or are in the know that Federal and Heavy Shot are together, are partners now.
Yeah, about 18 to 20 months ago, we acquired Heavy Shot. So, the overall company is Vista Outdoor. That's more of an insider because we don't sell anything that says Vista Outdoor on it. But the parent company, and underneath that massive umbrella of lots of quality brands, is the ammo team. And those brands are Federal, Remington, Spear, Heavy Shot, CCI. We have Alliant Powder as well.
Okay.
And so within that boarding groups division of Vista Outdoor lies the ammunition brands. And Heavy Shot was part of our acquisitions about 2 years ago. And it's such a great addition to our portfolio of really industry-leading brands just because of the technology they bring with the non-lead, non-tox product categories.
Yeah, it's a brand that's been around a long, long time, and been a major player in the non-toxic world of shotgun shells for, my goodness. I mean, I was a young man. I remember when that company came on the scene and kind of revolutionized and set the course for where a lot of brands, but you guys especially with your TSS loads and all that stuff. I mean, it's just cool. That's a neat partnership. And I know we got to put some of the new heavy bismuth through the ringer out in Montana, and it was a performer. I talked to John Zinnel about that at Western Hunting and Conservation Expo in Salt Lake a little while ago, and man, we just kind of glowed about that partnership and about that load.
Yeah, their expertise is that non-toxic, non-lead product category, and their bismuth is cast in alloy there. It's their proprietary process. They own that space, and they make some of the most quality shot. And what's really advantageous now is that all the companies can bring its technology together. So we'll be loading the Flight Control Flex Wad with some of their bismuth shot and vice versa. So really the winner in all of it is the consumer.
Oh, absolutely. Because at the end of the day, you're getting a product that is going to just perform at outstanding levels in the field. I mean, I think when you guys were when we were hunting geese that first morning, I think it was you or it might have been Anthony. I can't remember. Somebody was running the 3-inch threes that day on late season Canada geese and just smoking them.
Yeah. Well, I think you were running the 20 gauge. There was somebody that was shooting 20 gauge in the blind.
Yeah, and that was oh man, the name is eluding me at the moment. I was shooting a 12
gauge, and
so I was shooting Black Cloud, just straight up Black Cloud 3-inch BBs.
Yeah, and then boy,
yeah, the name right, Andrew maybe.
Yeah, he was shooting 20 gauge bismuth.
Yep.
He was shooting the Heavy Shot, and I was shooting actually the Heavy 12. I was shooting the tungsten Heavy 12. And so we had 3 different shots, 3 different payloads and shot offerings. And we all got our geese that morning. It was unbelievable.
Oh, and the conditions that day were brutal. I mean, perfect conditions for testing gear, for testing ammunition, guns, clothes, whatever, because it was nasty out there that day. You know, we're looking at standing temperatures in the single digits with a, I don't know what, 25, 30 mile an hour wind.
Oh yeah, for sure. That wind was blowing 20 to 25, which had wind chills probably in the minus 20 below zero.
Yeah. Yeah. And when your equipment works in those conditions flawlessly, it's going to work anywhere, you know?
Yeah, there was no, you think of sometimes your gun, if you have any residue in there, you could gum up, but there was no misfires at all that day.
Nothing.
And we had our limit in 45 minutes?
Yeah, it didn't take long. I think it took us longer to set the decoys up and wait for the birds to actually start flying than it did. You know, and there are 5 bird limits, and so it was like, and it was pretty quick. We weren't out there when those birds started flying, we weren't out there very long.
Nope, and that's a good thing.
Yeah.
we put the shot on the birds, and the birds crumpled. Now we had one flyer, but we easily found that, and it was a good day. It was a good day for sure.
Right. Yeah, that one flyer though. I mean, even that we didn't. The bird was dead when we found it. You know, we watched it sail down, and it went down really hard, and we knew it was dead. So
yeah, it certainly appeared as one of those hard shots where they were going to fly, and then you saw it just go down. It was just a matter of going to get it. It was not running. It was dead. But it's always interesting when you get one of those hard shots and you see the bird sailing. You're going, oh crap! You want to have a good shot on it, and then next you know it just goes right down. Just no dive bombs right to the ground. Right.
Yeah. Well, and that, in my mind, that's a testament to good ammunition. You know, good shot shells. You know, if you make a marginal hit on a bird, it still performs to the point where you get a clean kill out of it.
Yeah.
That I don't know. That's a big thing of mine. You know, and we hunt.
Me too.
Here we're hunting a lot of time. We're hunting a river, and if you don't kill your birds, they get away. You know, or they make you a really hard day on your dog. So having those premium high performance shot shells is just crucial. You know, and we shoot a mix out here too. You know, I shoot a lot of the TSS stuff. That's a great waterfowl load. This year I shot a pile of the bismuth, and that performed at an extremely high level for me, which I think, if I remember you saying this correctly, is the old bismuth going away and the new heavy bismuth taking its place?
So yes, we will go forward with utilizing our capacity in heavy shot out in Sweet Home, Oregon, at that plant, to utilize their proprietary process in the bismuth coming forward now for Federal, Remington, and heavy shot.
Okay.
So each brand will maintain its identity, right? What separates their shot configuration, shell, head stamps, and all that stuff. But the shot itself will come from heavy shot, which is going to be, again, utilizing all the different high quality aspects of each brand. You combine them together, the consumer is the winner at the end.
Yeah, no, agreed. It's gonna be awesome. I'm looking forward to seeing that more in action. I parsed out a little bit of the stuff I had and kind of gave it to some of the guys here in the office and let them shoot some of it last year on some of the hunts we did, and they all were same thing, just glowing about it. Like, man, that stuff's phenomenal. And I kept one box of the 3-inch 3s back for, and I didn't end up shooting it, but I figured next year I'll put it through its paces, but I watched those guys use it, and holy smokes, they just hammered stuff with it.
Yeah, I was hoping to get out and do some snow goose hunting this spring. Obviously, my leg conditions might preclude that, but also some of the snow conditions. I'm sure you guys are aware that South Dakota and Minnesota, in North Dakota, we're getting hammered with snow. So it's going to be a while before that migration moves up. I was just out in Aberdeen 2 weeks ago, and there's a good 2-3 feet of snow on the ground, and those snow geese are going to be sitting south for a while. So those folks in Nebraska and Missouri and Kansas, you're going to have a little longer time with those birds. They're going to almost become residents.
Yeah, exactly. I had heard that guys were struggling to get those geese up north yet, but they're not there. But I'm kind of in the same boat. It's nice to put some snow goose hunting together before turkey season, especially now that turkey seasons mostly have been pushed way back. That, man, you can get a lot of banging on snow geese before winter's over.
Yeah, I always laughed. I always thought that turkeys were the cure for cabin fever, right, for us here in the northern climates. But snow geese are so much fun. It's an opportunity to extend your shooting opportunities on waterfowl, and now this year it's going to be late.
Are you shooting when you shoot snow geese? Do you go for the whole high volume thing? You go out
I don't have the extended 13, 14 round magazines. I'll pull the plug out so you can have 5 where it's allowable, but it's still fun to get them in, right? Just like we did for those geese in Montana. You don't have to make the 40 or 50 yard shots. Just do your job, let them come in, set your spreads up right so you invite those birds in, and then you get those closer shots those ethnic shots.
Yeah, that would be cool. What's your go-to load for that?
So I do like just a 1. So you got a black cloud 3-inch number 1 shot, or that's 12 gauge. Or I don't have a problem shooting 2s.
Okay.
But
I always like to pick guys' brains because you never know what their little pet loads are.
Yeah, I do like the 3-inch number 1s, black cloud, but I also like the heavy 12 2s. Now it's you're shooting tungsten, so it's a little bit more expensive to shoot, but that density and that toughness when that tungsten hits, you're getting deadly results.
Oh, I can imagine. And I think any time that I've shot tungsten, a tungsten derivative like heavy shot, or not heavy shot, TSS, you name it, stuff is just devastating. We're putting together the turkey episode that we filmed last year in Montana to release here in a few weeks, in the next couple of weeks. And I think that was like, I don't know, I counted it on camera, but it was something like the 10th bird, 10th, 11th gobbler with 3-inch 9s, TSS loads. Just like,
oh, yeah.
It's like automatic. Stuff is just incredible.
So I like the 7s.
Okay.
But because I like a little bit bigger pellet, and I'm not concerned about the quantity of pellets because I'm going to take a shot at 30, 40. Last year I shot my turkey in South Dakota at 58 yards, and I did have 7s. So I like just a little bit bigger pellet. But if you want more pellet count, then you're going to go to 9s and still get the results.
Oh my gosh, and it's like you said earlier, you want to do your job. You want to get that bird in as tight as you possibly can, and sometimes it works that way, and sometimes it doesn't. And knowing you have the pattern density and the horsepower to put a bird down at 45, 50, 60 yards if necessary, it's incredible. It really is.
If they're hung up right, because I think most turkey hunters like to get that bird to 20 and 30 yards because it's part of the game, right? You are causing them to do something that's not natural. They're supposed to be displaying and bringing the hens to them, but when you're pulling them because they're so driven, you like to have it in that 30-yard range, right? But it doesn't always happen. Sometimes they get hung up, and you have to have that confidence. So go out, test your loads, shoot on a pattern board, figure out where you're at, and then at 40, 50, 60 yards, you've got a legitimate load that's going to do its job.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that, and I agree with you 100%. You always try to get that bird close, but it doesn't always work that way in the real world. And it's like you said, it's nice to have that ability to reach out and touch someone.
Yeah, last year I was out in South Dakota on a media hunt, and we were testing just our products as usual, and I got beat by an eagle, Todd.
What? I got to hear this.
We were belly crawling across this open field doing the fanning.
Okay.
And it was private ground. So we weren't worried about other hunters in the area when you're utilizing those techniques. So we start crawling across this open field. We're fanning. The flock is stable. There's no issues. We've got a couple of gobblers who are full strut. They're doing their thing, showing off to the ladies. And all of a sudden there's a sort of a distraction, and the birds are taking off, and we look up, and here comes an eagle with talons down, trying to grab on whether it was a jake or a hen. We couldn't really quite tell, but the whole flock of 30 birds just got up, and just like it was leaving a flock of mallards leaving the roost on a pond. It was unbelievable. I've gotten beat for a lot of things, turkey hunting, but not eagles.
That's a first. I've never heard that before. I've seen it. I've seen coyotes do it, but not an eagle.
Yeah, I hadn't seen it either, and then I wouldn't have believed it unless the outfitter had his iPhone on the fan running, and we got back and looked at the footage, and sure enough, it was a immature bald eagle.
Wow.
Looking for a meal.
That is wild. That's crazy. That's the coolest part though about being out and doing stuff is you just don't know, what you're gonna run into, and we brave the elements like we did in Montana. We get after it. We hunt spooky birds or difficult conditions, and then at the end of the day, we all go back and reminisce about about the hunts and about things. You and I had the opportunity to get together and do a media hunt together this last winter in Montana, and I'm not going to say where. we were asked to keep that
not
tight
sharing
lip.
GPS locations.
Yep, but it was a really awesome deal where we got to hunt both geese. We were hoping to get into some duck shooting, but the weather didn't allow that. But we hunted geese primarily in the mornings, and then in the afternoons we got to chase around upland birds. And the one day we actually got what they were like the Montana Slam.
Yeah, that was incredible. What a day! That last day of the hunt. It's we're lucky, Todd. You know that we get to experience not only our passions, but we call it our profession as well. And when you get to mix the camaraderie with the people in camp and our friendly four-legged friends, and the different people that come into a camp too, you get to learn about people, and it's just we're very fortunate to work in the industry that we do.
Oh, I couldn't agree more. I could not agree more. That last day in the uplands was pretty special. You don't see birds like in the numbers we saw much outside of the Dakotas, especially South Dakota. And we were covered up in birds that day. And we walked a long ways, and it was cold and it was brutal, but birds, the sheer numbers of birds, both pheasants and sharptail that we saw was incredible. And we even got into a couple coveys of huns towards the end there. And I remember, I'm going to brag on you for a minute because the thing that stands out about that day for me is I was working the rim. You had your dogs, so that they had you right down in the thick of it because you had both your springers with you. And I didn't bring a dog, so I was kind of on the edge blocking and kind of trying to keep things corralled. And I ran way out in front towards the end, And I remember this one bird got up on the far south side of what we were walking, and I was like, oh, man, yeah, that one's gone. And then all of a sudden I just see him fold and go down. And I heard somebody was like, well, that was Brian. And then I see your little dog, your female, working, and then she brings it back. Come to find out, the shot was amazing because the bird was up there, and you smoked it. But the retrieve, come to find out the story behind the retrieve was even better.
Yeah, there's no possible way that my dogs, either one of them, saw that bird go down. I was fortunate to have, one of those shots with a high coming at me, and I 20 gauge Prairie Storm number 5, 3-inch. I just happened to have the right lead, and it went down in a ravine behind me. And there's no way either one of those dogs could have seen that bird go down. And I turned around, started walking with my dogs, and Mocha just got onto the scent of that bird, and she blind retrieved. I'm pretty proud of her. And then, of course, my male, who decided to be a boss, tried to take it from her. And I'm like, you are not taking that from her. She found that. And I buzzed him off. And she brought it to me, and it was a real source of pride.
That's so cool. Yeah, I was, like I said, I watched it from a long, long ways away, and I was like, wow, that was a heck of a shot. And I didn't know about the retrieve until later that night. And you were beaming. You were in the moment, and rightly so. There's nothing better, man, when your dog does something just unexpected and incredible.
Yeah, you're right. These dogs of ours, and I know you've got a couple labs. They're our companions, and they travel with you. They, the night that it got down to 10 below, they end up coming into your tent with you. Sorry, Montana outfitters, but the dogs.
That's against the rules.
It's against the rules, but at 10 below, they were coming inside.
Yep.
And they just become your hunting partners and friends, and they're all the things that you want a dog to deliver on. And when they do their job, it really does bring you a lot of pride. And that day, to make that retrieve with absolutely no visual, because she was hunting when I made that shot, because they didn't put that bird up. That bird was shot at a few times as it came over, already before it came over me, because they were in the brambles looking for birds. And so when I called them back to me and said, hey, we got a dead bird, and they went and found the scent and got on it. Yeah, that was really, really something cool.
Yeah, it's that whole day was kind of the capstone to that whole hunt, and it was. The conditions were brutal while we were out there. It was super cold. There was big stiff wind every day. It made for spooky birds, but we all shot birds. We all shot pheasants and sharptail, and we lined everything up on the tailgate that evening, and it was kind of like, Anthony Von Ruden from Montana Hunting Company looks over and he's like, that's everything. Who got the sharptail? We ended up having a couple sharptail, bunch of roosters, couple of huns, and it was just, I don't know. It was an amazing experience in an amazing place, and Anthony runs a first class operation. I've been in a lot of hunting camps, and as have you, and that one's right up there with the absolute best.
Yeah, when we arrive, you come up on this hill and you look down onto the valley, and there's this tent camp, and it just, everything is magical. You're in a little bowl, so we did have protection from some of the elements.
Oh yeah.
But when you're in that low ground that second night, when it got down to 10 below, that was interesting, because we let our fire go out in our tent, and it didn't take us long to figure out that we had to get up and re-stoke that fire. But yeah,
but it was comfortable. It was one of those deals where they had heaters in the tents as well as a wood stove. And yeah, if you let the wood stove go out, it got a little chilly in there. But I know Brandon and I let our wood stove go out I think the last night we were there, it had warmed up a little bit, and we didn't run it that night. We just let the little heater go because we had good grief. There's plenty of bedding on the beds, and
Yeah.
it's not like you're sleeping on the ground on a cold cot or something. It was a straight up bed.
No, it was, and I enjoy the rustic conditions. That's part of it, right? I thought I was right at home when I saw the Mr. Buddy heater. I thought, well, this is just like I'd be running on my fish house up in north central Minnesota. I'm like, boy, we got a Mr. Buddy here. We're good.
Yeah. Absolutely. Oh, the food was outstanding. We come back from the hunts, and there was always hot food there, and just the camaraderie in the big mess tent, I kind of called it. It was huge. I don't know how big it was, but it was huge, huge tent. Yeah. And everybody's hanging out, talking, telling stories, and probably a few lies, and
Yeah. The cook and I, we're very fortunate, but you come back from a hunt and you get there and you have hot chocolate and cider and coffee and all this stuff just to warm up a little bit. And then they serve you this unbelievable meal. I think one day, did we have eggs Benedict?
Yeah, there was for breakfast or like lunch somewhere in there. Yeah, we had like eggs Benedict one day. There was always something. And we were always taking the birds that we shot and turning them into appetizers.
Yes.
Which was outstanding.
The sharptail, I had not had sharptail prior to that hunt. It's hard to believe, but we don't have a lot of sharptail in Minnesota, and even more of eastern South Dakota. There are birds there, but not on our priority list when I'm hunting. I have springers, so I'm more of a pheasant hunter. But sharptail, the way they prepared it, on a cracker with a little bit of that. They had a little bit of jelly. I can't remember what the jelly was, but the spread, unbelievable.
It was
goose
first
brats,
class.
The goose brats. Now, I traded out my geese for goose brats when we left, and I've had those like a couple of times. My family loves them.
I should have traded mine out. I took goose. I just brought geese home.
Yeah, I made the right call on that one. The goose brats. We had them in camp the one afternoon, and they were phenomenal. And I'm like, and then they offered the trade out. If you gave them their geese, I took the goose brats, and boy, they're good. I had them up at the cabin, had to cook out. People love them. Oh,
maybe I should have done that. Maybe I missed out. Well, maybe I'll turn. I can do that. I think I can. I got the high mountain brat kit. I could probably whip something up out of the geese that I have from this year. That was cool. Speaking of which, did you get when we got done with that one? I mean, it was kind of tail end of the season, but did you have any other goose hunting that you did afterwards?
I did not. When I got back from that trip, we went right into getting ready for SHOT Show.
Right. I would imagine that consumes an enormous amount of your time.
It does. We've got, to prepare all the materials that we're going to provide to the writers, to the media that attends. A lot of it's also setting up meetings so we can rekindle any relationships, understand ways that we can maximize our investments with the different publishers. So there's just a lot of pre-work that goes into that preparation for SHOT Show, and then the 5 days of running chaotic through the Las Vegas Strip.
Oh, it is crazy. Ike's taken me down there once, and we've kind of cut back. We run pretty skeleton crew down there anymore. Obviously, you guys see Brandon.
We see Brandon and Ike.
Yep, Brandon, Ike, and but he took us all one year, and it was just to get a glimpse of what you guys all do on a daily basis. Not only the media guys like me, but the vendors. Holy smokes. Just the massive amount of effort that goes into that show. And it's successful every year. It's like every time I talk to somebody, oh, it was great. I mean, I'm assuming you guys had a great show.
Yeah, so this year was a really good show. It was well attended. The previous year is coming off of COVID. I found even though the attendance was down, the meetings had more impact because we weren't having the constant rotation of 15, 20 minutes and then a new person, right? We had more engagement time, which was good. But this year was kind of a return to normalization. We had very good traffic, meetings that delivered results, and more importantly, too, you get to connect with all the industry folks and see the vibrance and the health of the industry returning. It was really, really quite amazing.
That's cool. What did you guys debut down there on the wing shooting side of things?
So we have some line extensions mainly, and then of course the heavy bismuth that we're promoting for federal. But heavy shot has some line extension, especially in the sub gauges. And as you talked with John on your previous podcast, the 28 gauge, the strength of the 410 is still high. It's our number one turkey seller for TSS, that 410 load. And so they're just, again, as we see the return to the sub gauge, right? And then also people that want to shoot their grandfather's gun, the bismuth gives you the opportunity to safely shoot through that because the metal's not going to do anything to the barrels of those guns.
It's funny you say that because I had my dad and my brother out earlier this year, and one hunt in particular, Dad came out. I want to say it was November. The timing isn't that important, but he collects old double barrels, over and unders, side by sides. That's his thing, and I talked him into bringing a couple of them. And he's like, well, I don't have any ammunition I can shoot out of them. I said, I do. I said, I have some 2 3/4 inch bismuth, and it was the meat eater line that I had. And I said, I've got some of this. I said, they're 2 3/4 inch 4s. Bring a couple of your old guns and shoot some ducks with them. And having the ability for him to have the ability to take a couple of his old guns out that he hadn't shot ducks with in a really long time. I mean, probably since the lead ban, and shoot legitimate loads that performed at a high level, killed birds clean, and he just had so much fun. He did that for a couple of days, and he looked at me and he's like, "All right, so I want to keep doing this. How do I get this?" So I was like, these are the loads that you're gonna need, and I showed him what to buy, get it all squared away, and next time he comes out, he's got 2 old guns and 4 or 5 boxes of the bismuth, and we're rocking and rolling.
Yeah, that's the advantage of the bismuth, is that you can shoot through the older firearms, but you can also go from your waterfall bag to your upland bag, like we did in Montana, and not have to worry about it, right? You don't have to worry about changing out your lead for the night before back to steel in the morning, and shoot if you have your same gear bag, right? Because you make sure you're lawful at all times. You don't have lead in your bag in the morning when you're out waterfall hunting. So it gives you that confidence that you're not screwing up there.
No, you're absolutely right. There's certain places, I know South Dakota's one. If you're going to hunt public ground in South Dakota, you have to shoot non-toxic for upland birds, for waterfowl, for everything. And it's so nice. Like you said, you grab your vest and you got one load. You're going to shoot 2 3/4 inch 5s, and that's your load for everything, for pheasants, for ducks, for everything. And it's just nice where it goes back to when I was a kid, where you bought a box of shells or 2 boxes of shells with your trapline money at the beginning. Well, that's what I did at the beginning of the fall, and you shot them for everything. That was your load, and I didn't get to do that very long, but that was the thing. And I think there's a lot of older guys like my dad's age that they really appreciate having that ability to be able to do that.
Yeah, they have confidence, A, in the load itself, and B, you're not trading out, making those potentially mistakes that there's no intent to make those mistakes.
Right.
But the worst thing that can happen is the game warden shows up and you've got lead in in your bag and you're in your waterfall outfit and you're chasing waterfall. And again, there's no intent, but this bismuth option takes away any possibilities for error.
Yeah, no, I agree 100% with you. Well, so are you going to get to chase snow geese at all? Do you have any plans for that?
So there's an opportunity to head to Canada in May. It's just going to depend upon where I'm at with my rehab, which I can't believe I'm even talking about that, but
I'm not laughing at you, man. I feel for you. I feel for you.
I'd like to say I'm 55 and I feel 35, but this little nuisance with my ankle is making me feel 55.
Yeah, that's brutal. Well, I hope it comes together for you, and probably the
Thanks,
same thing for turkeys too, I would imagine.
I think the thing about turkey hunting, and if you do your scouting, I'll try to find ways to minimize the amount of travel I have to get from point A to point B. So we might be so selective on the routes that I choose and how far I have to walk.
Yeah, jump out and go sit in a blind someplace. Get a little creative with it. You never know.
That might have to be the case this year. Is get out there, set a blind, and try to cut them off.
No, I hear you. It's man, it's always something. Really is. You just never know what's coming for you or what you've got, what the future's going to hold. But I hope you can get out and chase some turkeys. And I know everybody here is looking forward to it. It's one of the things that we look forward to every year, me especially. I think we may have an opportunity to go to Oregon this year and do something out there. That would be fun with the guys from Leupold. We'll see. I hope that hunt works out. But it's been it's been a long winter here too. Wyoming, we've had our animals out here, our big game animals have taken a beating this year badly. And we just had I got to put a blog together on it today, but they just had an outbreak of, basically it's bovine tuberculosis in our antelope herd down in southern Wyoming, where they found 200 dead antelope laying there. And you stack that on top of a long winter like what we've had, and same thing with you guys, lots of snow, lots of cold. And it's just been, it makes turkey season look really inviting and like it's not ever going to get here.
Yeah. Like I said, I think turkey season is the cure for cabin fever, for that winter blah and blues that we get. And so I encourage people to get out, because it's such an audio circus out there that it's just, that's what attracts me to it, is being able to wake up, you watch the earth wake up, and then that audio circus you get it's magnificent. It's also very energizing.
It is. I agree. And I'd forgotten, living out west, we don't have the massive songbird population that you guys do in the Midwest. And I'd forgotten until I went back, took my wife and my kids back a few years ago to Iowa and hunted there with family. And that first morning I got up and it was deafening. Not just the turkeys gobbling, just the amount of songbird sounds, and unbelievable. I looked at my wife and I said, "We don't have this in Wyoming. This is unbelievable." And it does. It energizes you, man. It's like, shake that frost off your bones and get outside and hunt turkeys. Oh.
Yeah, when you get up and waterfowl hunt in South Dakota and the red-winged blackbirds are all chirping in the morning, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, no, I hear you. That's awesome. Well, Brian, I really appreciate you taking some time and jumping on with us, talking product and talking about hunting. I wish you a speedy and full recovery on that leg. I know you're going to be up and after it faster than you probably should be.
Well, that's our mindset, right? How fast can we get back into the woods and enjoy our passion and our profession? Luckily we marry them together.
Yeah, no, you're so right on that. You're so right on that. And I look forward to the next time you and I can get together and chase some birds around. It was a lot of fun last time, and I'd love to have you guys out sometime if you want to come out in the winter and hunt ducks or hunt geese or whatever I can do. I'd love to have you.
And I know Brandon has offered it many times, and one of these times, I guarantee I'll be out there. And I'm glad we could connect last year, make new friendships out in Montana. And for those folks who want to try something new, that was new for me. What a great way to combine upland and waterfall, Montana Upland Outfitters.
Yep, the Montana Upland Outfitters with Anthony Von Ruden, and I'm not going to give away any more than that because they were pretty. They asked us to be pretty low key on their press, but Montana Upland Outfitters with Anthony Von Ruden and Bryce DeVries was one of the dog guys out there. And I think he pretty much runs the show for Anthony on the upland side of things. And Bryce has high step kennels, top notch English pointers. I think he runs some setters too, but I know his bread and butter are those pointers.
Yeah, those were phenomenal dogs.
Man, they were fun to watch. Absolutely. But great guys, awesome place. Hopefully you and I can get back out there and do that again, Brian.
Yeah, and I also want to make sure we thank Jared Wickland and Ben Brettingen because they were also co-sponsors on that hunt. Jared from Presence Forever and Ben from Onyx.
Thank you for that. You beat me to the punch on that one. I appreciate it. You're very good at what you do. Yeah, that hunt, I don't think that hunt would have come together. I know that when we first got invited to it, we were in Canada filming a hunt up there, and Jared got a hold of Brian, I believe. Or not Brian. Jared got a hold of Brandon and was like, hey, Brian Kelvington, Ben from Onyx, we've been invited to do a hunt with these guys. Are you interested? And I said, yeah, absolutely. I mean, good grief, two out of those three are partners, and another one is a nonprofit that we support. So absolutely, why wouldn't we? But yeah, super cool.
Yeah, it was magical, and it'll always be memorable.
Yep, 100%. Well, thank you for your time again. I really appreciate it. And like I said, heal up, and we'll look forward to seeing you in the field next time.
Well, likewise, Todd. Thank you so much for bringing me on today, and I can't wait to hunt with you again.
All right. Take care, Brian.
Thanks, Todd. Take care.
Bye.